know my thoughts. On the opposite end, what are some of the bright scenes you most often remember? I would say a lot of the jokes, the goofy sitcom-esque character interactions, mostly lighthearted and silly stuff that's meant to make you laugh or move the major story of the week forward. A means to entertain, engage, and in a way distract from the more pressing issues going on in the show's world. Not only that, but often when the show tries to have a personal moment in a brightly lit scene, there's usually some form of regression or halting or anything that stops character progress from moving forward. Take Zubal's therapy session in episode 3 for example, where it seems like Zubal's going to have a deep introspective moment about their lacking sense of self and body dysmorphia and personal identity, and then Kane immediately cuts them off, ignoring the true problem and reintroducing a short-term solution that clearly doesn't work. There's Jax walking away from Cosmo's funeral in episode 2, where he ignores his true feelings and moves away from potential character growth. Gangle getting hit by a truck in episode 4, where her celebratory moment in darkness is immediately ended by a flash of bright light. She was just willing to accept the possibility that the real her is what people truly want, only for her to stumble in front of a moving vehicle and flash right back to her gloomy reality, possibly sending the message that if she does let the real her out 24/7, something dangerous and painful could happen, which makes her want to regress again. Jax and Pomni's various talks in episode 6, where Jax is not only gatekeeping his true emotions, but is trying to regress Pomni's development while distracting from the real issues surrounding himself. Even the bar scene in episode 5, which you'd think would be an exception to this rule since it's well lit by neon and everyone is talking about themselves, still surprisingly fits into this category. Sure, we have Gangle and Pomni revealing their backstories, but they don't really progress as characters in this scene. They just give us facts about themselves, which is good for the audience, but doesn't really change the cast all that much. Pair that with Jax turning his backstory reveal into a complete joke, and Ragatha attempting to be real only to immediately stop when she gets some awkward glances, and you once again have a scene where forward momentum on development is either halted or stalled. Not to mention Kane just abruptly ending the whole thing out of nowhere, which doesn't help matters at all. Speaking of which, I think we can all agree that Kane, the omnipotent ringmaster of the circus who always has the lights on him, is the absolute king of stopping character progression. We already talked about stuff like the therapy session with Zubal and the truck hitting Gangle, both of which he had a hand in, but there are even more blatant examples, like when he literally halts one of Jax's rare moments of vulnerability and just transitions to a bunch of flashing lights and colors, quickly ending something deeply human with just a snap of his fingers. Now I know that Kane isn't doing any of this out of malice. He's an AI that doesn't understand human interaction and was created with the singular goal of creating fun adventures to entertain players. And all of these actions are either him following his code and player feedback to make what he thinks is a fun experience for them, or questioning why he's failing at his sole purpose despite doing all he can to live up to it. But regardless of his intentions, he is actively destroying opportunities for the circus members to discover something about themselves with his wacky quests, elaborate shows, and mile-a-minute nonsense, all presented with bright stage lights and goofy cartoon movements that do nothing but momentarily capture attention.